is iRacing. Well, last week out at Road America, Jacob Reed tried to close the gap on Valenteus, and he's doing so, and the gaps continue to close in the GTOs. But after an hour race, we come back to the 40-minute sprint, and we come to a track that is pure Marmite. You either love it or you hate it, and we're not used in the layout that everyone hates. We're here at Barcelona for round 7 of the IMSA Vintage Series live on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hello, everybody. I am Craig King. Joining me in the booth tonight is Howie Burrows, and we have Daniel Costello, fresh from the rugby in the director's chair using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A track known for its Formula pedigree, but it's also known, double, for its IMSA and Le Mans European Series. For more, let's go to Joe Peak for that Global SimRacing Channel guide.
Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. Placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower-tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get a pass done. After that, your next hope might be into La Caixa, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day.
Well, on Sim, we call it the historic layout, but this is basically the modern day layout that everyone sees nowadays, and it's the layout that most people like.
Indeed, and this track is a very popular destination for testing and all sorts of racings for a reason. It does have a little bit of everything all around the layout: low speed, high speed, and medium speed that tests just about everything. I believe the turn 10 could be not what we use in the modern track, but it's faster and more sweeping. And of course, you skip that chicane and you run right down to 13 at the very end. So there's opportunities for every car and every driver here. It sort of tests everything for you.
Yeah, a track with lots of corner names that I love and not corner numbers. And the danger zones will be going into the start of that. And Repsol, always an interesting corner to try and set yourself up for Seat. Multiclass will be interesting around here today. But like I said, European Le Mans Series, got my words out right this time, will be a place that we see a lot. But locates here at turn 10, the key thing. We're going to go straight to the race details today. As I said, the championship pretty tight. Can't really show you the formations there, but it's round 7 and it'll be 40 minutes today. And it's an open setup. Bring what you make or use what the community provides, because there's some fantastic setup makers in the community. But if you crash, you're done for the day. There is no spare car out here. Then a drive through at 17 incident points. Disqualification at 25. Howie, I know this is the fast track. I don't think we're going to be seeing anyone flirt with the disqualification today.
You hope they won't, but even on a Grand Prix-sized track, we have a massive grid. We've filled it almost to the brim around here, and both different types of cars are going to demand different things from each other around here. You should be able to be patient. There should be space for you to get what you want done. But in the 40-minute race length, sometimes you can be pushed to madness in either class around here.
Yeah, it's interesting as the drivers do start to go on their way. I've always liked the shape of this racetrack. It's very weird. It's almost like those old school wood planers that you know, Cam Porter's in the chat. He knows what I mean. You've got the two handles on both sides and you go left and right and you're playing the wood. You know, it just reminds me of that. It's giving me that feel as we see, well, there's only one car to look at right now, and it's the number one of Jacob Reed. And I say the number one. Interesting. Valenteus decided to have a weekend off, and I don't blame him. The clocks went back last week in Europe. Clocks going back tonight for America. So a little bit of a rest as Jacob Reed starts to attack the start of this lap. As you can start to see, he comes down the line. It's a very long start finish straight here as he goes to start his second lap. Sorry, not pole position. This is it at Elf, turn one. Very hard braking.
It's one of the hardest points to slow down, then the turn, sort of a little bit of a chicane up the hill before you run through some very, very long sweepers that can really sort of push your car out wide if you push them a bit too hard. Middle of the track has a combination of high and low speed sections as well that mean that you sort of have to keep the balance perfectly on edge. GTO is going to use the whole track on the way out. The GTPs are going to want a similar line and are going to have to compromise to get around throughout this race.
Now, I heard an oh no from my director and I wondered what he was on about, and then I realized I did see an Aussie Pahaka in the race. Now, everyone knows when an Aussie Pahaka comes out of hibernation, you look for some times, and this is Johan van Hicks. Interesting times as well when we come to look at the GTPs. Identical times in David Ricciardi and Brendan Lim as Van Hicks comes across the line. And I do wonder if he's going to get himself up the board, but no. It is only fifth, and when you look at how close it is between the GTOs, it's a tenth between Lundberg and Joni Hagner. Jacob Reed had a spin on his final lap. He will not take pole today, and Henning Swebe increases his time by 1/10. He, at the moment, unless there's anything left from the drivers, will be standing at the top of the race.
Not quite where you want to be on the starting grid, away from pole being potentially the fastest here. He's Jacob Reed second for now, and he is going to need an unseating. And I'm not sure if any of the existing cars running out are going to take that from him, but surprises can crop up near the end of qualifying. 12 car here, running the second lap around the track in the GTOs. There's a bit of a lap time difference, obviously, between the classes. About 15 seconds in it between the two. Lundberg seems pretty secure up there in the first lap. They're all wrapping up their second as we speak, and there could still be big changes. A very small gap, only 1/10.
Yeah, just trying to look at some of the lap times at the moment. Electric track is going pretty fast. Lundberg continuing on. What has he got? Is he going a little bit purple? He's faster. In fact, he just went purple by the looks of it on my timing tower, and he does improve just enough. But Joni Hagner comes by, and I'm just looking. Did it actually just tie his first lap time? In fact, no, he didn't. He actually did go better. Got Cloud, next man up for them, but I'm also keeping my eyes on the GTPs. He'll come across the line. There's one driver still out there with 2 minutes to go, and it's this man, Christoph Lesnajak, who at this moment is looking pretty quick. And just for a split second, he went purple. Did he get an off-track there? No. All still good, all right? I tell you what, I'm just looking. That might have been an off-track. That's going to be a costly off-track because he was looking at a 24 almost. That has to be gut-wrenching. He does get it. It's just not fast enough, though.
See what scared you? The off-tracks here are quite brutal. We're getting four wheels onto the green. That means you are done around here, and can often lead. Sometimes some of it's halfway over as well. It varies depending on the corner, but there are some very, very gut-wrenching off-track moments on this circuit when you run wide, which a lot of it tempts you into doing. So that point just about in the line, but you get that feeling in your chest at Barcelona. You really do.
Ian Trevol also going to set some times. Don't think he's going to have a lot of time to set a lap, so it's just going to be a sighting lap for the Spaniard. He will still be able to get a finish out here, but it's a very good Spanish experience out here today with the drivers, because this is almost like the Nordschleife. You always get your green ring, your green hell drivers around here, and today you get your Spanish drivers, because we're seeing a Jonathan Cazorla. I do apologize, my name pronunciation not good there. Cazorla is there. Currently P3, as you see, the number 24 in the GTPs. Again, not a name we're used to, coming out because it's Barcelona, and you get those experts out here for these tracks, especially with a single split. What can he do? 22 seconds left. Comes around your car, and you just start to see. This is where Jacob Reed lost it. The rear, you need to wait. You also need to wait not to hit that sausage curb. And with 11 seconds to go, will come across the line. Needs a good time to start off here. Just gonna be there at the last moment. And it's a 1:28.7. We'll put him 16th out of 24. Very respectable time out there for what feels like one of his first times on. But that is going to be it for qualifying. So let's get down to those positions. Because as I said, Henning Swebeg will be whole out here today with Jacob Reed beside him. That's a surprise, I've got to say. Jacob Reed was pushing hard. Jonathan Cazorla will be in third with Gabri Martinez in fourth. Then it's Christoph Lejerjak in fifth. Even Platon will take sixth with Fabian Jumblov in seventh. Man called Ozzy Pohaka will be in eighth with David Ricciardi in ninth. Brendan Lim rounds out the first page. And we'll get to the second, which will be Hamilton. Barrera Ruiz makes his return in 11th. Emilio De Chari will take 12th with Matthew Cockerham in 13th. Gianluca Gabbiani will be 14th. Andre Felipe Diaz 15th. We saw Ian Trevor in 16th. Javi Perez will be 17th. Tamar Oscaralagu, he will be in 18th. The last of the time qualifiers. Do apologize, Tammy. Lance Simon, Joskara Gieslane will be 19th and 20th, the first of the non-qualifiers. Then it's Bjorn Ackerman, Samuel Elliott, Sammy Eurovan. I got that wrong, sorry. It's Bjorn Ackerman, Sammy Eurovan, Brian Henson, and then Samuel Elliott for your 24. Not many non-qualifiers in the GTOs, though, Howie.
And it's a pack grid the whole way down. Another 22 cars make it. It's led up by Noel Lundberg next to Joni Hanga. Joran Van Hicks lines up next to Theo Strela. I need to apologise to more people as well. Doug Cloud's in fifth next to Iker Costello in sixth. And Josh Brain is to Jack David Spickett in eighth. On the fifth row, Timothy Reed's next to Martin Krzyzek, and there's plenty more behind. I'll get some of them right, and I have strike rate, I think. Josephine Becker lines up in 11th. There's Matthias Hadval. Ian Haycock is next to Brandon White. Then it's Romain Belo, Stephanie Leslie, and Aitor Sintes Galdino. Let's go with that one. Richard Hinnerman alongside Henry Vermucki, and there's still a few more back here. Marcos Roman Vasquez and Alexander Kilborn take up 20th and 21st, and Emilio Perez lines up on the back.
So we have a field 22 GTOs, 24 GTPs. That's going to be a very big and busy track out here today. Always good when you get over 40 drivers. You want that. It's a nice little sweet spot at the moment at 46 drivers. Usually anything a bit higher, you get to the 15, you start to get a little bit chaotic out there, and the drivers start to just get ready to be a little bit defensive. But he's got Beast on the front of his car, and Henning Swebeg will have to be a beast out here today because he's got Jacob Reed beside him. And after the Lotus 79, hello, just a little bit of a I just see that from two Spaniards. Just a little bit of a tap in the GTOs as they start to go, as the GTPs start to get their warming up. Joni Hagner, victory over Van Hicks last week. Johan Lundberg as well, just battling those three. Going to be very tucked in together. No wind out here today. Track temp 23 Celsius, 74 Fahrenheit. That allows him to go. The pace car goes in, and Swebig just gets them all napping. Goes for the jump start, and the jump start works for him. But here comes Jacob Reed, using all the ability he's got. They're going to go side by side, down into Elf, and around the outside will go Jacob Reed, who's going to have to wait for the braking though, because in he goes. Free wide right behind as well. Gabri Martin is getting past everybody. Very clean start. Swebbing holds on. GTO's just about to come down to turn one.
With 3 wide down the start-finish line, and almost 4 Van Hicks gets a good break into the first turn, and that's Lundberg spinning out wide. He's going to save the car just in time, but he's going to drop all the way to the back as a result of that. There was just about enough space for it. Van Hicks leads over Hagner, leads over Theo in our top 3, but it was side by side perfectly until that gap opened up on the right-hand side. A big outbreak by Hagner on the outside.
Tell you what, everybody managing to avoid a spinning Johan Lundberg. Not only did he get the car going, Lejerjak having a lot of connection there, trying to go side by side with Gabri Martinez out there. Very interesting just to see it, and I think he's gone. That could be very interesting. Cazorla as well did not have the good start out here today. He's going to have to watch those two go side by side. More contact and there's something just not right with Leslie Jack right now. Maybe just need to put 50 pence or 50 cents back into the draw. But Ozzy Bahaka, what a start it's been for him. Trying to go around the outside of Europe car. Can't get it on Cadrola.
Absolutely chasing his way up the field early on in this race. It's very big and very wide. And F1 track has that. There's going to be plenty of chances for side-by-side racing all throughout. We've remained single file closer up the front of these GTOs. After that spin, you see Jack David Spickett sort of peeking his way to the inside, just a few cars back. But up front, we're now just setting consistent laps. Joni Hagner and Johan Van Hicks going to try and dodge the draft.
Yeah, they're going to try and just do a little bit of drafting, but you see the rest of the field all a little bit carnage. Jack David Spickett having to just catch up to everybody. This is Josh Brain who sees Jack David Spickett right ahead and changing the lead though at the front, because Hagner and Van Hicks going side by side through Elf, and now they'll go through Renault side by side, and Van Hicks is on the outside. How many times have I said that in the last year? But you see that allows Hagner to keep that inside as they come up to Repsol. It's a little bit uphill, a little bit to go, and I tell you what, I thought Van Hicks could have got that. Still trying to look for an overlap, nowhere to go, comes down into Seat. Well, he's going to have to take a seat there, and he's just going to have to accept he's in P2.
Saw the draft down the start-finish straight play a real impact in these cars last lap around. Van Hicks did a lot of preemptive weaving just to try and get Hagner out of the way. I wonder if we'll see similar moves again when the cars return to it. We have a little bit of bumping and contact with Van Hicks. Hagner almost trying to push Hagner along just a little. Eyes up the inside. I'm keeping an eye on Doug Cloud. Van Hicks is going to sort of take that move, sits outside, tries to cut over, lock up from Hagner in front. We remain in line, but Van Hicks is signalling he wants to be anywhere but back here. He doesn't like being pressured, and he's just going to do anything he can to force his way through.
He could do anything, so can Ozzy Bahaka. But he does have to serve a slowdown at the moment as he goes side by side with Fabian Jungblom. Not entirely sure where the off-track has come for him. He served it and going to have to try and go around the outside of Seat. And there is still an overlap. There's still an overlap. Ozzy Bahaka, you madman, around the outside of Seat and onto the 007 where he just said sayonara to Fabian Jungblom, because Fabian set up that attack. Could not make it. And the last thing Ozzy wants to do is look behind. Ahead of him is Jonathan Cadrola. He wants to catch up there. He's looking for a good top 5, and Hamilton Barrera-Reese, well, he's already up 1 today. He's looking for some more as he's catching Ricciardi.
These cars obviously a little bit less physical than the other class at gonna finesse and work a little bit harder, but they should get a massive slipstream effect down that start-finish straight. We haven't really caught a full shot of it yet, but as they fly past the chicane that hardly even exists, lots of aero grips into the ground. The off-track can get you from the outside of the turn there, and those cars fly down that straight. I'm noticing the runs though, they're not materializing quite the same way. Youngblood sitting behind, not quite approaching as I'd expect, and can't quite get closer to Bahaka right now into the first turn.
Yeah, he's going to be happy though, and just looking where the traffic is, and they're going to be a lap, maybe a lap and a half before they hit the traffic at this stage. The top 2 probably going to hit it anyway, but the next lap, here's Emilio Dicciari. Always good to see the Argentinian as well. And I got confused in the summer thinking, why is he in a jacket? Well, of course, he's in Argentina. It's no longer the winter for him. It's springtime, so really has to now start worrying about the heat himself. And I tell you, it's not nice sim racing in the heat. And I know what it's like with our South African director with Daniel. It's not exactly how you want to go, but for Emilio, doing good out there. Just trying to hold on to Brendan Lim, possibly looking to see what moves he can get when it comes to multiclass.
These GTOs are just as tightly packed as they were earlier. You're getting running away at the top of GTP and you're not getting any here. And there is definitely a slipstream run if you can set it up. But Cloud Jack David Spickett sitting in quite well in 3rd and 4th. But this top 2 haven't changed too much. Van Hicks is sort of backed off from the mindless aggression. You can see gravel on the exit of many turns already. Drivers been kicking everything and the kitchen sink onto the racing surface. But I just look at that body language from a few laps ago, and I think Van Hicks certainly is looking for the opportunities. He's certainly not content here. Maybe he feels less threatened by Doug Cloud. I'm not sure, but no matter what, he is sizing up ways to try and push this car past.
Top 9 are all together in some sort of train as Doug Cloud is right here in P3. Everybody knows that Doug Cloud is a very aggressive defender in the positive way, but he has to be there first, and Jack David Spickett is right behind. So it does make me wonder what's going to happen later on, because Van Hicks is waiting. And every GTO driver, if you've never seen an IMSA Vintage race, every GTO driver at the front, they realize it's not worth fighting early, it's worth fighting later on. So one thing to look out for is, where does Van Hicks make the move? Because the GTPs are just coming on by, and it's going to be very interesting to see Jacob Reed, what he's going to do to try and make a jump onto Henning Swebig, because we all know Jacob Reed has some fantastic multi-class awareness.
There's space to make the passes work here for sure. This isn't one of those tracks that just feels diabolical, like it's cranking the GTPs around every turn. But there's also plenty of opportunities where it can encourage someone who isn't thinking right to make a dive bomb. That isn't right, and impatience could sort of boil up on the wrong drives at the wrong time. These lead drivers, we know them very well. They know the series, and they're going to be fantastic up front. But as the pack starts to come through, you do get impatient in a 40-minute race sometimes when you're sitting in the middle and you think, I'm getting taken advantage of. And it possibly will lead to chaos and incidents in its own time. Leaders right now, of course, cutting their way through. And as mentioned, there is space. But, I mean, they're still trying to leave it quite close for us.
There's space, and then there's touching the side of a GTO, trying to make sure you get the right move around Repsol, and that's what Swebig had to do. And Jacob Reed, just goes, yeah, okay, I'm just following you. You lead us, and just following. That's going to put a little bit of pressure on Henning Swebig right now, because he knows Jacob isn't going to take any aggressive moves if he doesn't need to. He's just going to follow the hole that Henning Swebig makes him. This is not the best analogy, but right now the GTOs are paper. Henning Swebig is the scissors. The scissors going to try and cut through, and then Jacob Reed is the rock that's going to punch the hole even more. And realistically, rock gets scissors, paper gets... you get the idea. It's going to be very tough, especially through Europe car. There's a gap there. Joseph Becker has to give space. Now they have to give space to Krajicek onto the brake. That's one good thing. The speed difference really helping when it comes to some of these corners.
Looking up ahead, that was a GTP sideways and down and out on the front of a GTO, and that's Emilio Di Chiari also sideways. A few cars there wrecking in view. That wasn't quite the car that got stuck on a GTO though. I mean, you could see some damaged rear wings in the field. Drivers sort of washed too wide in the wrong place, and I think the drama of IMSA Vintage is starting to begin. That might have been Andres Felipe Diaz, but I'm just trying to stand working it out myself. It was in that wide shot that we were through, and now there's so many incidents that the director's probably going to start losing hairs. 10 minutes in, the traffic is fully mixed in the middle of it all, and it seems as if we have now hit the apex point.
Well, if anyone's got an Aussie Pahaka watch at the moment, unfortunately, Aussie Pahaka is spun around and caught damage after an incident on Aitor Sintes Galindo. Very interesting what happened there. We'll probably look at it later on, because Doug Cloud is no longer in P3. That's Jack David Spickett who managed to get past him. To get past Doug Cloud this early, this soon in the race is a massive favour. Here comes Doug, looking to try and go a late braking, and there's nothing there at the moment. Even Poisson couldn't even help Doug look for a move. So this is interesting, because Doug is the type of driver that will go for that move right away. He's happy enough to play in the train, but the last thing he wants to do is lose time out there. So as he could cost a Salo, trying to make sure he doesn't lose time out there, battling with Josh Braid and Theo Charest. Fabian Jungwirth comes on by, and Ika's going to use that for advantage. And here comes the multi-class aspect. Another GTP goes by. Who's going to use the slipstream? It's Theo Charest right ahead.
I wanted to take a quick peek back at Doug Cloud's pass, and I did notice that he kind of got moved by Jack David Spickett on the inside of the turn. I wonder if that will boil up over time later on in the race. Up the front of the GTOs, Van Hicks retakes the lead as more traffic is about to dawn in upon them, and there's going to be cars cutting them up all over the place. there seems to be just endless traffic, and you almost can't work out who's trying to pass who, going 3 wide in shot here behind Costello. This section of the track, if you get multiple GTOs and GTPs, it is genuinely looking like we're in the middle of LA traffic. And some people have brought out their supercars and are just trying to show off in the middle of the road, not risking death along the way. It's kind of terrifying, this phase of the race.
Very terrifying. Yeah, I'm just saying, Van Hicks managed to get past Johan Van Hicks to make the move. I think Salo continues on his battle. That was actually around the outside of turn 1 at Elf there as well for Van Hicks, so very good. Salo, though, continues to push on. Not a lot here for Theo Charet, but Josh Brain losing some time out there. And now Noel Lundberg also trying to catch up. Catch up he will do. It's a spinning GTP. There it is. It's Jost Hussein right beside, but Lundberg needs to catch up. A lot of cars losing time here for Noel Lundberg. Remember, he was third. He is making a recovery drive up the field. And the man from the Netherlands is doing a really good job. Down 6 overall today. He's 7th. Still 4.5 seconds away from the leaders. Hopefully the traffic's going to work for him, but nobody's in front of him. Apart from these GTPs right now, he doesn't have to worry too much when it comes to traffic, but that's a lap GTP letting go of a car on the lead lap by. Not exactly good. Otzi Pahaka in the pit. Johnny Hagner trying to find a way back again.
I'm seeing more impatience across this race than I sort of expected. I thought this track would maybe open up opportunities for GTPs to play, but I've seen, for instance, on the turn you saw just right there, I've seen GTPs go all the way wide, straight into the tarmac off the track and make off-track passes just to try and get past cars. It sort of happens when you get fields this absolutely massive, and you almost feel like you never, ever, ever get a break. He's up front in the GTPs. Jacob Reed is still right behind Henrik Schreiber. I really thought that there'd be a bit of a runaway and the traffic can sort of work with that if you could manipulate it very well. But Jacob Reed wants this P1 back, and 12 is pretty close as well to this free car chase. So I have a feeling these free cars are going to be locked up all the way to the end. Reed looks to the outside, then dumps inside, peeks outside a tiny bit more. Doesn't quite get any sort of overlap on the entrance as we run up the hill, but certainly eyeing his way in for manoeuvres here. He wants to get this done.
Yeah, he wants to get it done, but I think he's happy at the moment that he's still here. And it's actually a real testament that Henning Swibbing and Jacob Reed haven't been separated after the first time of driving. A lot of people probably surprised at Henning's pace. Henning's shown a lot of good pace this season, really starting to mix it, and Alessa Jack right behind. And yes, free car battle. When we talk about GTPs and we think of a free car battle, it's probably Valentea's battling Jacob Reed, and then another top name. Off the top of my head, I can't think about it. Maybe an Oya Zamaola's come over to do something. So for Jacob Reed as well, this is similar to what he did in there. Do I see I see Jacob. That's Iker Costasalo. That is Iker Costasalo having a little bit of a moment out there. A little bit of a slowdown. Bjorn Ackerman, that was Bjorn Ackerman. It was actually a battle with Theo Charet he had, and then got spun around and just came off. That was also Bjorn Ackerman having a spin. Turn 1 being very dangerous for these drivers at this moment. But for Cotosalo, he's down 2 places, and Noel Lundberg is up to 5th now.
It's very much a track and a set of corners that's designed for very many modern cars that have very good brakes or just ABS in the way, and of course you get none of that whatsoever here in these cars. So if you jam those brakes a little bit too hard, it all goes terribly wrong. You lock up into another car and bad things happen. So I can see how cars are just sort of ending up in each other's stuff throughout this race. I've seen more incidents on the track as well. I think Bjorn Ackerman just crashed his way out as this is the battle for 6th place in GTO. Cars are incredibly close to each other still. Then, because of the all-wheel drive nature of these GTOs, it's difficult to really work out how to force the issue on another car. They're quite slow. We're going to replay this incident. It was quite a big one with Bjorn Ackerman. I caught this one live. Bit of a rear end in the 40, and Javi Perez goes up and over. That's 2 cars sent down and out to the pits.
And then just decides for a split second, let's be a double-decker GTP. A little bit of a moment there. Very interesting as well at Campsa. It's a high-speed corner. You shouldn't really be having to lift or anything there at Campsa. It's really good, especially with the GTPs. The downforce does stay with you there, so very questionable moment there, but I'm sure they'll have some words after the race. These top three are all battling, and this is something which I haven't seen for a while at the halfway stage of a race of an IMSA Vintage, because you've got the top three in the GTOs together and the top three in the GTPs together, and this is going to be very interesting to see because something has to give, and the GTP leaders are round 2 of the traffic, and straight away Henning Swebbing finds a gap Jacob Reed can't find, so that could split those guys up, but these three, again, look, you're going to see, oh, a good run from Jack David Spickett. No, you're not going to see that right now. They know there's 23 minutes left in the race. These three are going to be complacent to just stay together. It's the buddy system, Howie. 3 people hold hands together.
You just try not to get taken advantage of, although ironically, if you're on some of the drivers up near some sort of item in the front or the back, sometimes you want to see, that the GTP just slowed down another car and got past me perfectly fine. I guess staying in this line for now is the next best thing, and it means you sort of don't get broken up, you get to have your good race by the end of it all. But the wave of terror just keeps coming back at you over and over again. You don't get too much space to breathe. On the topic of space to breathe, this lead pack is compressed right back up to the front. Schrebig got away with the second gap, and then it just loses it all again. Here's poor Hacker, who we talked about earlier on in the race, and hasn't had an excellent run of it. Running around the outside of some GTOs. What's going to happen? Just a little bit of a clip against that all-wheel drive car taking an outside line. It's a risky place to go in a GTP. Lead
well, we
change.
thought there was a lead change. No, there wasn't for a moment. It was a split second. For a split second, they almost went 3 wide around there. And Jacob Reed tried to find a way through. Very interesting because it was just people taking different lines. And look at the little weave there from Jack. He's just now trying to put some doubt into the driver's head. Keep your eyes on that timing tower as Gabriel Martinez may get drawn into this 2 seconds behind. We don't need to keep all eyes glued to him, but this is crucial. They're up now to Josephine Becker, so they're up to almost the top half of the field. Josephine's in a battle with Timothy Reed and Martin Krajcik. You'll see them round the corner. In fact, you'll see them straight ahead. Was that a slide from a Jack? It was. We don't see that here. We're looking on board with Jacob Reed. In fact, Jack's got a slowdown. We don't need to worry about him right now. We're just keeping our on board with Jacob Reed. And I love this because here it goes. 2 GTOs right there. Henning Swebbing trying to find the line on the exit of the case here. Nothing yet. Remember the track does turn to the right. Gonna give some space. Timothy has to give the space. Well, he had no choice. There was a car there on the inside. Had to give the space. Now, will they try and go around the outside? Here at Eurocar, they do. But Jacob Reed's going to go down the inside. And almost had a run, but had to just hold back. He is putting pressure, and Swebbing will have to look for defense. He's all right at the moment, but it looks like side by side going into turn 1. Joni Hagner is battling with Johan Van Hicks. And Joni Hagner, it's still side by side with Johan Van Hicks as they come through, and they almost went 3 wide, and the leaders are about to hit them. Van Hicks holds on to that lead.
Jack David Spickett's well within that battle as well, so we're side by side for the GTP coming up the hill, while at the same time we're racing the GTOs like absolutely nothing else. If something bad happens here, I don't think people are going to hear the end of it. They're only a few turns ahead of those GTOs, battling like their life depends on it. Jacob Reed trying to find his way around Hannes Schrebig. He just hasn't found the opportunity. So much has been sort of opened up, but the traffic management has been excellent from these top 2. That's the top 3 GTO in the frame right now. We go 3 wide around GTOs again, off the track, on the grass. Schrebig doesn't care. Now, here comes the lead battle in the GTO, and what a send by Schrebig up the inside. Reed has just been left out to dry.
Left out to dry with a lap GTP, and you've got P3 Jack David Spickett, and in fact, Christopher Jack round the outside of Blacksabel is trying to get Jacob Reed. He can't do it. Now Jack gets held up, and everybody's going out of the track. Goes Johan Van Hicks. Jack David Spickett, so yes, Van Hicks is gone off the track. Hagner retakes the lead when the leaders meet the leaders, You see the chaos, and right away, you've still got Swebbing in the lead. Jacob Reed looking for the move, and Swebbing having slowed down on the final corner. He'll have to just slot in line. It's taken 2 corners, 3 cornered for 2 positions from the top 3 of each class. I'm running out of numbers.
That wasn't even contact with Van Hicks. He just sort of outbraked himself into that turn, which, I mean, who wouldn't when they see a horror like that in their mirrors and the risk of crazy moves going around them? This has allowed Hagner to really run away from Jack David Spickett, but praise to Van Hicks here. He's right on the back of Spickett, trying to reclaim this B2 almost immediately. I don't know how you still have a breath after some of these shows. I'll be totally honest, there is no racing quite like this on iRacing sometimes, and that was really one of those moments where horror could have happened. There probably were things that frustrated and made some drivers bitter, but we did make it through in one piece.
Yeah, let's watch this back. Joni Hagner's here in the Glacier Racing just there. And you see the chaos right behind trying to go through. And yeah, it was just Van Hicks. Just completely missed the corner. There's always a space there to go in when you've got Henning Swebig or Jacob Reed going to the inside. Could not do it. And Adam, you're not here. I've got to say it. This is classic IMSA Vintage. Vintage IMSA Vintage, as he would say. As Johan Van Hicks actually managed to fight his way back pretty quickly. Jack David Spickett's right ahead, and they're still in the slipstream just of Joni Hagner out there. So just waiting for the traffic to go, and the traffic is going to be vital for all 3 of these cars right now. You see the timing tower. I hate to say that Henning Swebig's a cork in the champagne bottle, but for the GTPs, I think Jacob Reed's managed to find a 3rd gear. Swebig is struggling, but we're here with the GTPs because I also see a Doug Cloud and a Noel Lumber and an Ika Costasalo, and what do I dare say? Top 4 are back again.
It's more and more and more close battles the whole way through. Alessio Zak just overtook Swebig going into the first few turns of the track, and Gabri Martinez is now looking up into the rear of this 3-car chase. Jacob Reed probably is happy to finally have space to breathe after an incredible battle that he just got the better of. You could see him down the road. So, you know, it's not completely impossible to catch him, but running those laps in the clear air without the pressure could help him secure the last 15 minutes of this race. I'm not sure what has happened to Swebig, though. He's slowed a lot off the 12, and now the 6 is going to get him next, I think. This is starting to really unravel for him. I don't know if there's damage on the car. It doesn't look like there's damage anywhere at all on that thing, but this shining star of the race has very much dropped off the planet in terms of pace.
No, he's not looking like a dim star at the moment. Still driving well, I think. Just a little bit of overheated tires going off the track may have not helped him. Gabri Martinez is going to be a tough nut to try and defend and make sure they don't take it away from him. So that's going to be one to wait for. It's going to be tough for him to even just think about this, because if he loses the slipstream on a Jack, then that's it in trouble. He's having a good race. I can report he's had to take a tow to the pit. He was in 13th position at the time. Theo Charret still going on, and this battle's near the mid of the field. They haven't actually let off, and it's always weird to say that you see battles in the middle of the field, but Theo in P9 doing as good as he can. Got Josh Brain ahead, got Josephine Becker fighting. Josephine really showing the pedigree early today in the 49. A little bit of touring car here, side by side. A little bit of bumping side by side. And Josephine still trying to go around the outside of Renault. You've also got Timothy Reed right behind, and they're now going to go side by side as Theo gets on through. Josephine's going to have to defend around the outside as they come to Repsol, using the slipstream, and Timothy Reed holds back. We've got Craytrick, Brain, Charret, Becker, Reed. These top 5, these 5 all battling for 7th. No one wants to give a single inch out here as more traffic comes on by.
Many of these GTPs are split up, but the GTOs have just remained in just their tight battles the whole way up the pack. And I guess it probably is easier to get yourself past and around some of these long trains and cars. And there's Gabri Martinez trying to get Henning Swebig. There's contact, unsettled Swebig. He's around and he is in the gravel just like that. We might need to keep having another look at quite who caused that one, but Swebig's race goes from bad to worse, picks it back up relatively quickly, but that's another place down as well to Ivan Platon.
Yeah, Henning Swebig, I'm just looking back at that, and there's overlap there on Gabri Martinez, and he just opens the door. He just opens the steering a little bit too much. The understeer to set yourself up for the racing line at Elf. not what you wanted to see there for Henning. I know we were trying to figure out where the damage was. I can tell you right now, the damage is on the rear of the wing. Let's have a quick look at the replay here. Does it just start to see? No, it's not the moment here. This is Henning Swebig earlier as they were coming through the traffic. Is this? Oh, now it was not Van Hicks. I apologize. I thought Van Hicks made a mistake. Real good catch there from Daniel as he was looking back. Shame on you, Daniel, watching the race right now. I know what he's doing. But no, that was what happened there as well. Just going on by. So interesting there. That was the multi-class chaos that we were looking for.
It's been impatient chaos around here, and it's a bit weird because on one hand I think this track's wide enough to accommodate this. We race on some ridiculous tracks that don't really fit the cars, and this one does have the space, but it also makes sense in an inverse way because so many of these corners, they sort of push you very, very wide on the exit, which is sort of GTO territory, or they encourage dives that might not really be there. And so we've just been seeing more and more of this where racing lines have been bumping into each other. It's not the most common venue for multi-class, although we do see plenty of multi-class racing in its life. It's not not always used on the top level. But these cars, especially with their unique dynamic, the all-wheel drive on the GTO, as is Doug Cloud side by side with Noel Lundberg, it has led to just people crossing over in the strangest of places.
Free wide, just for a very short moment there with Gabbiani and Lundberg and Cloud. And remember, Noel, I know you're a good driver, but so's Doug Cloud. And Doug Cloud really makes that GTO wider than it needs to be, and even more. They're going to go side by side. And now, Doug, how are you going to defend this? Because Lundberg's got the inside for Elf. There is a penalty lap loop here for motorbikes. You can't take that today, Doug. You won't be needing it side by side. They'll go. Real good defense from Doug, actually. Real good defense. The outside becomes the inside, and now Lundberg's going to get to the inside of Renault. And I can't see if Josephine Becker couldn't do this. I can't see Doug doing this, and indeed he cannot. He'll have to just resign himself to that P5. Well, Lundberg, what a comeback from the man that started pole. He's right away, and for Theo Charret, Theo, you were looking forward to this week. I know you were. And it's just not worked for you today. He goes down to more positions.
There was a bit of contact there with 22 in GTO that caused that little spin. Keeping an eye out on the front of the GTPs as we approach 10 minutes to go. And it's looking pretty. Look, here's the contact further up in the corner. Jacob Reed's had running away with this race by himself. And I think that 22 just hops that curb and runs right into Theo Charret, having a bad day, into a really sad one. At the very least, he doesn't have a totaled car, unlike some of the scratches we've seen. A lot of dead GTPs in the pits. Actually, the GTOs have arguably gotten away with it. Only 2 of them have retired from this race. But Jacob Reed has made the best of the clean air. He's made a second since the last time we've talked about him, and his whole top 3 is pretty much now just playing traffic management in themselves to maintain their current position. Ivan Platon for P could challenge for P3. He's within a second, but not right now. It's not an imminent battle that we're seeing, but he's sort of in the wings if an opportunity arises, which can happen in the traffic, of course, here.
Oh, we talk about, with just 10 minutes to go, talk about hard chargers today. Hard chargers in the GTPs, as Josh was saying. This is one of the hard chargers that Jack Davis Pickett trying to battle for Johan Van Hicks. Around they go through Renault, and they're going to go side by side. And Van Hicks is the master around the outside. Going to go around the outside into Repsol. Yeah, he just waits. He's going to try the over-under. It gets blocked off. Jack Davis Pickett now up 6 today. That's the hard charger in the GTO. Hard charger overall. He gets up there. And what a drive. What a month. I know we're in a new month, but what a month it was last month for JDS. Really found a new pace. He's found the fountain of, well, not really fountain of youth, he's still a young man, but he's found the fountain of something to get them paid. Fantastic. 2 seconds up the road is Joni Hagner. Yes, 2 seconds up the road. Somehow Joni's managed to just push away. What can a man who's an expert in the 79s do against Joni Hagner, who's a veteran in this GTO?
I wouldn't count out this battle returning at any point. That's a green Jacob Reed off in the distance to try and lap these drivers again, but he has the benefit of being able to be more patient than usual with the gap he has, so this should be achieved relatively well. You don't win an IMSA Vintage race by being a wrecking ball, as he flies up the inside of one, and one more to go down the final turn. Looked a bit touch and go from this angle, but then I think your eyes can mislead you. I think this battle could easily reignite. Half a second in these cars gets made up by 1 or 2 dodgy GTP moves, or 1 or 2 brake locks from the car ahead, or even just a little bit of pressure. I think we're going to be seeing this battle for P2 just constantly come back in these last few laps.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Also, give a shout out, Doug Cloud is still battling here. Even though Noah Lumber's got by, he is battling it in this position as well. So he's going to be trying to hold on as well. Gabriel Martinez just goes on by them. So he's looking for opportunities here, but not able to open the steering up, open the corner, the exit there, Renault like he'd want to. Losing a little bit of time to Lumberg, and Lumberg also just having a moment ahead. So give a shout out to Dub because he has done really well. It's interesting. You look at the net gains and losses that every driver in the GTPs. Sans, the last driver, everyone's either gained or lost. You look at the GTOs, well, Doug, Salo, Brain, and Van Hicks at the top are all where they started. And when you think Noah Lumberg is down 3, he's trying to catch up to the rest of this field. It's not looking good for him, but gap now 2.3 seconds. Yoni Hagden and Jack David Spickett. Traffic's not worked at the moment for Yoni, but remember, the leaders of the GTPs have come through. Maybe, and I'm knocking on wood, maybe he can just give himself a little bit of a prayer, and maybe the traffic will open up for him as the rest of the field comes on by.
I mean, ironically, I feel like the leader of the GTP is the person who's got somewhere to be the quickest, but you actually get a little bit more scared through some of the cars further down in the GTP field that might have been there through some incidents of their own creation, or might just be angry and furious and shoving their way up. And that's when you start to think, oh, they might just make a move or two. That's a little bit regrettable. I think that's been some of the incidents on the track today. Right now, all Van Hicks could do is just sort of stay where he is, make up little bits of time. There's plenty of chances if you're a skilled driver to make them up on this track. One thing we noticed though is that outside run around these turns going up the hill has done absolutely nothing in these cars. They've got a lot of grip, but they've just not had the momentum to make it work at any point. So he's going to have to think, where can I make a move in 6.5 minutes? That's not many laps for him.
No, and let's be brutally honest right now. Everyone talks about in F1 how this is the track that's really hard to make overtakes. And yeah, it's like a modern F1 track. You can't overtake on a modern F1 track. I will say that, and I will have my gripe with modern day F1, and I will stick to it. But on a track like this itself, it is still a little bit tricky. And then you introduce this sort of aspect where you've got more straights, more ability to use the slipstream. So you look at Hamilton Barrera Ruiz right now, as he's trying to catch up to Brendan Lynn. Had he had the slipstream here, he'd be able to make that move, and he can't at the moment, but now the gap is 1.2 seconds. But you get the idea that you get the straight and you're able to do stuff. Fabian Jungblom trying to hold on to against Henning Swebbing. Henning, I hate to say it, Henning, you are going from worse to worse to worser. I just really butchered that, but you get the idea. With that aero damage here on a track nowadays, like again, no chicane there anymore, no tight corner at the gates here. That's going to be costing you a lot of time. In fact, you're just getting swallowed right now. Fabian's about to make this. Henning Swebbig is going to try and defend this. Bless, he's trying to defend. That's just not enough out there. The speed, just see what that damage does with 5 minutes to go. Henning is literally on a survival mission right now.
I think I might have to take a peek into the IMSA Vintage servers venting channel after this and just bask in some of the frustrations and drivers that feel like they were possibly entitled to better. Henning Schwebig has been relentlessly fast, but little incident after incident has just dropped him down and back off the bottom of this race. I'm trying to keep an eye on the gaps for these GTOs to work out whether a battle will happen, and they are slowly compressing. It's still not within strike range, but I do think that the second, third and fourth could still boil up. Here's our leader in class, Joni Hagner, who's enjoyed the privilege of being about 2 seconds ahead of the next car and is just trying to dodge traffic like in order to make it up to the end. Highest high-rating GTO in this lobby, 7K on the sports car, absolutely proving his might here today on a track that has been challenging and testing. It was very much about finding the opportunity at the right time to finally get out of that battle. It wasn't going to be raw pace as much as it just was going to be stuff coming your way.
Yeah, I'm just looking as well. We were wondering, Van Hicks hasn't really got the pace at the moment. And I did look, there is minor damage on the back of Van Hicks's car. And I mean minor. It's almost, you probably won't be able to see as we come on by. It's on the rear right. And that is so hard to see. But there is definitely a little bit of damage there, and you can just see it if you've got a bigger screen. I'm not exactly looking at the biggest screen I can at the moment. You CSI enhance and zoom. He is struggling out there, but he just set his fastest lap of the race, 41.928. So has still got some pace out. That's it. No, Lumbo, sorry, 42.3 for Van Hick, and there's the damage. There you go. We'll get a better zoom in here. That you wouldn't think would be causing a lot of damage when you're literally a cheese wedge, you're a refrigerator, you're a rock basically, you're a Zamboni if you're Doug Cloud. But that's going to cause a lot of aero here, and he needs Jack Davis Pickett as much as Jack Davis Pickett needs Van Hick, because Jack Davis Pickett, he's catching up to Yoni Hackney with 3 minutes to go.
I think we're within the sort of range now where the slipstream's going to play a factor, at least for Noel Lundberg, at the very least behind Van Hicks. Keep an eye on the front of that 4-numbered Audi. This is going to be where that start-finish is suddenly going to start giving you big runs. We might start seeing some swerving back and forth like we've seen near the beginning of this race. Really has compressed right back at the right side. They're going to get about 2 more laps of this track, I think. It's going to depend on exactly when people start their laps. There's also on the time ahead, Schwebig could lose another position before the end of this race, but it could just be inevitable. This is the real battle. It's going to be a test of wits for these two cars, and possibly the third up ahead. We approach the long straight in just a turn or two's time, and we'll see the impact of getting that crowd and whether Van Hicks reacts to it. Because we're sort of within that range now where it could be a dive.
Well, it's hard to make a dive in the GTOs. You're going to have to really be brave, and I've never seen a late break work in the Serpentine. First man to Serpentine is Van Hick, trying to defend that P3. What a race it's been for Noah Lundberg, trying to work his way back. If he gets the podium after spinning out at the start, and let's just hold on as I say that, because they're going side by side, and he just can't make that move at the moment. But that could be interesting. But if these two battle, let's take him out of the equation for the lead, because Jack Davis Pickett still trying to catch up to the back of Yoni Hackney, and the gap is now less than a second for these. Van Hicks still battling Noah Lundberg. Where is Jacob Reed in all this battles, I hear you say? Jacob Reed is a few corners away from getting ready to start the final lap, and I don't think he's going to catch the GTOs. And knowing Jacob Reed, if he catches them, he's just going to let them do one more lap.
I think the GTOs defending have worked out. If you hang to the right-hand side down that start-finish straight, with not be beaten going up the hill, and that's the position you want to take and defend with your life. And we've seen so many attempts around the outside of this class not really work. The car just doesn't quite have enough grip to go fast enough to make it work, and we saw Van Hicks just dive to that line, and that's how he was able to keep it. So we might see that happen again. They're going to get one more chance here, 2 more, I think, based on the timing of when Jacob Reed crossed that start-finish line, because we've not seen the white flag come out for everybody yet. But we'll keep an eye again on how Van Hicks moves the car down the straight. I've always seen him now, he's not even playing for the Serpentine, because he just sets that car up on the right the first chance he can, and that usually holds off an attacker. I don't even know if the run will present itself this time. Jacob Reed will probably get to lap them given the pace he's running, so this is going to make it the last lap for both classes.
It should be the last lap of both classes, and I think the drivers in the GTOs, they're aware of it. Jacob Reed's going to be taking that final lap right now at a few seconds up the road. In fact, about 8 seconds up the road. The delta is about 12 seconds. So Jacob Reed, he's either going to have to hold on back, or he's going to let them through. Fabian Jungblum getting ready. They'll be starting his final lap. He's got Jonathan Cazrola heading. Schwebig is still trying to fight, but heading not a lot he can do up ahead. Jonathan has to take a slide, and he'll just have to wait for his opportunity, and wait he will. You see nothing yet in the GTOs. We're trying to look at everything. Serpentine with Cazrola trying to get past, trying to hold off it. Fabian Jungblum, nothing yet. Jacob Reed, we don't even need to go to Jacob Reed. We've got to be in the picture-in-picture so you know how much time is left on this race. And the question is not a lot. 4 seconds ahead of Jacob Reed are this battle. In fact, in about 6 seconds ahead is this battle. What will he do? And he sees Doug Cloud. He doesn't need to go aggressive. 6 seconds is the gap. Side by side goes Lundberg. Side by side, Lundberg and Van Hick. Van Hick still has the inside, and Lundberg can't make this. And Jacob Reed 3 seconds away. I would not be surprised right now if Jacob Reed just lets them all duke it out. We're going to keep eyes on what he does. 2 seconds away is Jacob Reed. He can just slow on by. But Jacob Reed will be coming across the line very shortly. He will take the victory, and I'll tell you what, Jacob Reed, for the second time this season, I salute you. He lets the top 4 go because he is complacent with victory.
It's going to give them one more shot up here on the track in class as the GTPs finish their race across the line. Up for the lead, Joni Hagner and Jack David Spickett. He's come out of nowhere to try and challenge for this win. Now he's gotten the chance on the bumper. Tries to actually touch him, almost unsettles him. That's going to get him the lead, though. Hagner slows down significantly on the exit.
Slows down significantly on the exit. I wonder if he had a mischief. He's lost a lot of time here, and now the 4 are all together. Let's throw a little blanket all over them. These are the top 4 in the championship. Well, sorry, Mickey, I know you're not here, but you know what I mean. Top 4 in the battle today. What has Hagner got? In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Joni can't make this move right now. The gap is starting to expand. And I wonder if Joni's got a little bit of damage. Not the way Jack David Spickett won it, but Jack David Spickett has done a fantastic battle out here today. And this is going to be very tight through the final few corners. So what can they do? Here you go. It's Van Hick to try and go around the outside of Lacacia. He may have just cost himself. He's going to try it around the outside of Lacacia. Nothing yet. He has to give the respect. Side by side with Noel Lundberg, he'll go. And Lundberg, he may go around the outside of Bog Sabadell. And he's going to try and do this. These 3 are all battling. Jack David Spickett is so happy. He's so happy. Johan Van Hick goes around the outside of Europe car. They're going to go side by side for the final podium position. And New Holland, here he goes. More banging and wheeling. Johan Van Hickse will get it. I apologize for the E. And in a sprint to the line, Noel Lundberg stuns Joni Hagner.
From a spin on the first lap to taking it back on the podium and a celebratory destroying of the car. You don't get finishes like that every week in this series, apparently. So that really was quite the roller coaster, and it's a joy they were donated that final lap.
Johan, just apologies there. I know I said Van Hickse. I was just trying to mimic that famous clip that I missed your name. Jacob Reed, don't mess up his name. He gets the victory from Christopher Letterjack, who finishes in 2nd with Gabriel Martinez in 3rd. And those 3 were so far of everybody. Even Platon will be in 4th. Jonathan Kazrola, respectable 5th, down 2 in his first time on the broadcast. Fabian Youngblood 6th. Henning Swebeg, what could have been, lost out to Fabian up the line. It was a dead heat. David Ricciardi will be 8th. Brendan Lim 9th. And Hamilton Brera Ruiz will be 10th. Leading to Matthew Cockerham, who finishes 11th, the last man on the lead lap. And then Gianluca Gabbiani will be in 12th. Ozzy Pahaka recovered to 13th, the unlucky 13th. Josh Gissane will be 2 laps down in 14th, and Javi Perez 15th. Lance Seaman will be 16th, of Andre Felipe Diaz in 17th. And then the retirees with Ian Trevor in 18th, Bjorn Ackerman 19th. Tamer Oscar Gorolu, I'm going to learn that name. Apologies, in 20th. Then the last page, Milo Dechari 21st, Samuel Elliott 22nd, Sami Jovinen in 23rd, Brian Henson in 24th. Harry will give you the GTOs. I'm going to get my breath.
I think you deserve it after that. Jack David Spickett crosses the line in P1, and Johan Van Hicks crosses it in 2nd on a sprint to the line. Noel Lundberg from spinning up to P3. And Joni Hagner just losing out in that battle. Doug Clouds in 5th ahead of Iker Costello, Josh Brain, Martin Kresrick, Josephine Becker and Timothy Reed in 10th. Few more cars to go as we head down this pack. There's quite a few to run and only a few to retire really. Ian Haycox in 11th, Theo Schrelet in 12th with Aitor Gandilo in 13th and Roman Bello in 14th. Matthias Hadval is in 15th ahead of, I swear I'll get this right one day. I'm going to go with Henry Vermarki and leave it like that. Brandon White's in 17th, ahead of Stephanie Leslie, Richard Hinneman and Marcos Roman Vasquez. Only 2 cars on the back, Emilio Perez, and then Alexander Kilborn did not finish today.
Well, that's everybody in. We count them all in and we count them all back, and we've got a couple interviewees out here today. I think it's only best to really just look at who we got with Theo Charret to start with. And Theo, last week we were talking about how nice this track is. Today, the track bit you back. It was not a nice day at the office for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything was wrong from start to finish. I was disappointed with my qualifying lap, disappointed with pretty much everything. But I know that kind of stuff can happen, especially with a car that relies mostly on the mechanical grip, which is something I struggle with. But yeah, right now the race is done, and I can't do anything else than moving on for next week.
Yeah, talk us through exactly the challenges out there, because usually we look at IMSA Vintage and sometimes it's the multi-class traffic, but today it looked like it was just.
Oh, excuse me, Craig, you cut at the end. I couldn't hear the last.
Sorry, I was saying, I had a small drop there. I was saying, what was it like for the GTOs out there? Because it was very tough to make any sort of moves for you out there today.
Well, for the traffic, it was mostly fine, but I guess I still have some PTSD from the previous weeks because I was always looking down into my mirror and fearing for someone to dive in and dump me away. But I would say that the biggest challenge for me for this track is that most of the corners are very long and very smooth, and they require a very smooth driving as well. Which is something I struggle more with. I'm kind of more aggressive driving with more on and off inputs than just flowing around. So I guess that's what I've been missing for this week, and so I know what I have to work about.
Well, we talk about how we have to work next week. It's the American version of Barcelona, in my opinion. It's Barber Motorsport Park. Do you have any experience with that track? And if you do, what are you expecting?
I barely have any experience. Some years ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I drove there with the IndyCar to compare myself to the IndyCar pro drivers to see where I would be. And it was the very first time I was driving on this track, so I know it, but absolutely not with this car. And I absolutely can't tell how we'll be doing next week. But, well, there's only one way to find out.
There's only one way to find out. We're going to have to see. Unfortunately, we're just seeing a little bit of the contact there with the 10 in the replay of Iker Costa-Salo. That really was unfortunate there. But, Theo, we will let you go by, get some rest, and get yourself ready for an interesting week at Barber. But thank you once again for coming into the booth.
Yeah, thank you for getting me in.
Well, Theo Charret there, who came home, unfortunate there for him. And we've also got another driver who had an unfortunate day, got caught up in a big wreck with Ozzy Bahaka. Howie is alongside Aitor Sintez Galindo.
Aitor Sintez Galindo, it's chaos out there on the track at Barcelona today. Talk us through how that really went for you.
Yeah, it was quite a race, honestly. Let's be fair, this week I had almost no practice due to the health situation, so I was very, very, very off pace. And yeah, today marks the 4th Nissan that I quote-unquote killed from the fact that someone went around the outside of the exit of a corner of sweeping. Yeah, that's the 4th one this season. So yeah, I'm counting them. So yeah, regardless, well, it's been kind of disappointing result for me. Again, I'm outside top 10. To be fair, I had almost no practice, but then again, I tried to do as best as I can this week, some practice and learn this car a lot. But yeah, disappointing anyway. But well, we have to learn it, and yeah, we'll move on to next week.
Running with the GTPs out there, I thought it would be a bit easier, but there seemed to be calamity around every corner. So how was the interaction between the two on the track?
Well, to be fair, it's a quite wide track. Even though there's a lot of sweepers, it makes for a lot of passing a lot of passing timing. People can go around the outside of me most of the time, except the exit of the corner. Ocean can attest to that. But the traffic in say, let's just say that Nissan, the GTP this season has been like a lot of quick and very efficient drivers, and it shows when you are here on the Audi that it's like I cannot do this kind of stuff when I was in the Nissan. So I mean, it's an experience to be on the Audi at Barcelona, because it's a quite it's basically a track with a lot of long corners, and my style of driving, which requires using the right foot to turn the car, it's not helping me with the Audi, and this track in particular. Later it shows I was like 2 seconds off pace of the leader. So yeah, then again, the traffic was part for the course. Let's just say it's like nothing super chaotic, but also, I mean, there were some moments. But then again, it's IMSA Vintage. These things that happen, so it can be expected.
Do you plan on showing up at Barber? It's not a commonly raced on track, but there's plenty of ways it's got similarities.
Oh crap, Barber. Okay, I am definitely looking forward to this week because it's gonna be very interesting. yeah, it's gonna be interesting, especially. I mean, I've been in the Nissan with Barber and in Barber, I mean. So I know the track a bit, and it's gonna be very interesting with again another track with a lot of sweepers. But then, well, I have to learn these tracks eventually. So it's going to be interesting with the traffic, especially some sectors that requires a lot of people being very predictable. I have to be predictable myself for the Audi. So yeah, looking forward for next week. It's going to be very interesting, at least for me.
Well, good to catch up with you. Good to see you on the track. Hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the broadcast. And shout out for GSRC, and thanks for the broadcast. And see you next week, Papa.
Aitor Sintes Galindo there, who is finishing up, and that's going to bring us to the end. And as we were saying, it is Barber next week, but of course, a shout out to everyone. I did just say, first race I ever raced outside of rookies was on this track against a man called Lando Norris. Whatever happened to that guy in iRacing? Whatever happened to that guy? I don't know, but you know, this is the track that I have a lot of love for, and I hope everyone can join us next week to see that. And I hope that everyone's enjoyed our coverage today. Thanks and shout out to Howie, to Daniel, and to Dougie once again. And of course, I always say, if you like what you see, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any more moments, because we've still got some racing this weekend. The Lotus 79s are at Portland No Chicane tomorrow. Key thing, if you're in America, the clocks do go back tonight. That's going to be an hour earlier for you next week, so do not worry. Porsche Owner Club will be at Detroit Belle Isle, and the MX-5 United go to the wonderful Zandvoort on Tuesday. And then we do it all again on Thursday with Watkins Glen for the Skip Barbers. But today, Jacob Reed, he is finally top of the standings ahead of Valenteus, albeit no sign of Valenteus. And Jack David Spickett, well, once again, where has he found this pace? We're going to have to find out next week if he can keep this going. Because until next time, ladies and gentlemen, race clean, race hard, and we will see you on the track.
This is iRacing.